Another bikepacking route completed, another UK route ticked off. In this video we will be covering the Before You Ride the Black Mountain Challenge, a 150 mile, 240 kilometre bikepacking adventure around the Black Mountains in Wales. It's steep, tough, but yet rewarding. This is a route created by All Mountain Adventures and will be an organised, self-supported bikepacking event in September 2024. In this video, I will be going over what you can expect if you decide to take on this route for yourself, from what bike to take, how the wild camping is, food and water stops, and an overall difficulty rating out of 10. 10 being the hardest thing ever, and 1 being super duper easy. And also an overall rating of how this route is to ride. This way you can get an idea if this route is for you or not. This is the Before You Ride the Black Mountain Challenge. The Black Mountain Challenge is a 150 mile, 240 kilometre bikepacking route around the Black Mountains in Wales. It is going to be an organised event starting in September 2024 by All Mountain Adventures. This route will test you, excite you, and might make you wonder what you got yourself into at times. With over 15,000 feet of elevation gain, you will certainly be testing yourself and your legs. With all that elevation gain, you will get incredible views and fast descending. Wales is either up or down, and the downs are often very steep. This route will let you discover what Wales has to offer on a bikepacking adventure. Sometimes that's epic views, and sometimes it's eye-watering steep terrain. But as you make your way around the Black Mountain Challenge bikepacking route, you will experience what makes Wales, Wales. 150 miles around some of the best trails in the Black Mountains are waiting to be explored with this bikepacking route. This route is called the Black Mountain Challenge for a reason, and it's not because it's a doddle. It's quite literally in the name. It's a challenge. It has lots of very steep terrain and lots of technical trails where good bike handling skills are a must. It can be very remote at times, so you need to have a good amount of experience in handling yourself and the ever-changing conditions on a ride like this. I wouldn't recommend this route to someone who is a beginner or doesn't have much experience in the bikepacking world. But for someone with a good level of mountain biking skills and very good fitness. Someone who likes steep and technical terrain, and someone who doesn't mind a bit of hiker bike. This route will be perfect for you. The longest hiker bike section is the final climb over the Black Mountain Bridleway, where you will follow little sheep trails for the most part. Most of the route is rideable, however some of the descents can be steep, rocky and very rough. That's why I think if you are going to take this route on, make sure you have a good level of bike handling skills, are happy with some steep hiker bike sections, and can handle river and stream crossings, which can be a little slippery. If you are looking for a good couple of days challenge in Wales with great views, exciting riding, then it's a great route. The route itself has moments where it can feel like a grind, but there are other times where you can make some easier, faster progress to make back that time. The choice of bike is going to be crucial for how much enjoyment you have on this route. One thing for sure, get the easiest gearing you can and pack light to give yourself the best possible chance of getting up as much as possible. You won't want to be lugging the kitchen sink around on this one. While weight is an important factor for enjoyment, so is the actual bike. I would not recommend taking this on with a gravel bike. The trails are steep and rugged, so your best bet is probably a hardtail with a little suspension on the front, or even a full suspension XC bike. I took this route on with a rigid bike and 2.6 inch tyres, and it was manageable for the most part, but there were definitely a few trails that were a little too much for me. You will still want fast rolling tyres, as there are a few road sections here and there One thing for sure though, make sure your brakes are working well and bring a spare set of pads, just in case. Them hills are steep. Weather permitting, this route has lots of great places to wild camp along the way. I didn't have any problems finding somewhere to camp, and there are lots of great places you could set up. The route lends itself well to either using a bivvy or spending the night under the stars in a small tent. A small tent would be my preferred option in Wales because the weather can and does change very quickly. You also pass through a few different built up areas where if you wanted to stay in a hotel, hostel or B&B, that could be an option too. This would be a good option if you don't want to lug extra stuff around, making your riding a little more enjoyable. With the exposed nature of a lot of this route, just make sure you have enough gear to keep yourself warm and dry. If you are taking on this route, making sure you fuel yourself sufficiently is going to play a big part in how you enjoy this ride. Luckily, although this route can be remote, it also passes through enough places to stop and resupply on food and water. I think taking a filter for the water is your best bet though, as there are plenty of places to find water along this route. There are a few places along the route to resupply. Ideally, you would want to carry enough food for around a day of riding. Talgarth and Brecon are the two big places to resupply, but there are a couple country pubs along the way too. If you are taking on this route officially during the event, I believe there will also be a fully stocked checkpoint on Route 2, so you'll have an extra resupply point there. The start of this route is located in Abergavenny, meaning it's fairly easy to get to using public transport as there is a train station. The Transport for Wales trains are okay in that you don't need to hook your bike, so you will be able to take a bike with bigger tyres on board. However, Transport for Wales always seem to have very few coaches, meaning they can and do get very busy, so make sure you book your bike beforehand. Wales is always a challenge, and this route, literally having the word challenge in the name, means it's going to be a tough one. Wales is either up or down with not much in between. The weather can completely change the trails from 1 minute to the next. The difficulty for this ride is going to be a 7.5 out of 10. But with it being Wales, it could easily be the hardest ride you ever do. For the most part, although the trails are tough and can be hard to ride at times, there is enough time and easier sections for you to recover on. The hardest part is always going to be the Black Mountain Bridleway, which is the final real challenge of the route. It is beautiful. It is a beautiful feeling like you are in the middle of absolutely nowhere. If you are lucky with the weather, it will feel incredibly silent, with no sound seeming to reach you. But the actual riding up here is limited to hard to follow sheep trails for the most part, with a few rideable sections towards the end. The final descent from here is very steep also. So make sure you have good bike handling skills if you are going to take on this route, because if you are a beginner, if you are not very confident on the technical trails, this ride would just feel hard. My overall rating for the Black Mountain Challenge is a solid 8.5 out of 10. I had a blast, and it was a really fun to get back to Wales and take on a challenging route. Even though I wasn't fully myself on the bike, it felt like a fun route with some epic climbs and beautiful views, and it had enough fast-flowing sections to not always feel like a complete grind. The Black Mountain Bridleway was definitely a complete grind, but it always is.